you, Rich, and panelists. That's a great discussion. And now for our final panel discussion of the event for this conference, we'd like to get the carrier's perspective on the app economy. And for this panel, I'd like to invite Rob Trice, who's venture partner at Swisscom Ventures, as moderator. And with him, he'll be joined by Anne-Louise Cardas of Sprint, Thomas Newbert of Deutsche Telekom, and Ursula from Swisscom. Thank you.
So the good news is we have 4 beers left. That's it. I tell you what, I'll do the honors here and open the beers as you guys explain who you are and who you're with, what organization.
Hi everyone, I'm Anne-Louise Cardas. I'm a manager of our emerging opportunities in Sprint's CTO office. I'm based out here in Burlingame, California. And my role is to look for innovative services and technologies for Sprint to put on our devices or add to our services with customers.
Good afternoon. Thanks for still being here at 5 o'clock. Last session of the week on a Saturday. That's impressive. My name is Thomas Neubert. I am the Vice President for Partnering and Business Development for the Deutsche Telekom, headquartered in Germany. We have 14 or 15 countries where we have a presence, including T-Mobile US here in the United States. And I'm also looking, or we are also looking, particularly here in Silicon Valley, for partners for new innovation, new technologies to build a mutual beneficial relationship and to bring that particular technology into the Deutsche Telekom.
Hello, I'm Ursula from Swisscom. So some of you may not know Swisscom. Swisscom is like AT&T of Switzerland. Switzerland is a small country. We only have 7 million people. It's like the Bay Area. But being a small carrier, innovation has always been a key component, and working with startups has been a key component because we're too small to do our own internal R&D, with a population or market size of 7 million. So we have a small team here in Silicon Valley, which I run. We've been here since 1998, and our job is to find new services, products, or even ways to work with startups so that we can get those products and apps and services onto the market in Switzerland.
So guys, I'm going straight for the jugular. During the app monetization panel, the carriers were taken to task, basically being accused of being asleep at the wheel, missing the opportunity to monetize apps. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's not an absolutely true statement. We actually do get a rev share on paying apps in the Google Marketplace, Google Play Store. So, it's not like we're just sitting and not doing anything. We actually get money there. And we're also, helping developers with better ways for monetizing, and we can talk more about that later.
I would give exactly the same answer. Perception is not always reality. I think we are aware of the things that we might have missed in the past. I think we all came up with ideas and business models to catch up. And there will be a few topics in a few minutes based on your questions where we can actually dive a little bit more deeper. Because there's even more to it where we actually make rev share on the back end. That is a win-win situation.
And so we have gone a step further. We've decided for the SMB market in Switzerland, there's actually a need to be an aggregator of apps. So we've launched what we call the SMB Business World, which has different components to it. There's a component of educational, discovery, but on there we select apps, or certain apps can use that channel to go to the market, where we enable and provide services, and there it's a very clear revenue share. So if you address the right market, yes, but definitely there are a lot of free apps, which, we don't get a revenue share of.
Okay, so your answer to the app monetization is they're nuts to
Yes.
that panel. Okay. But there's a perception.
I wouldn't call them nuts, but
So
they're smarter than they might think.
There's a perception out there that carriers are just a dumb pipe. So apps provide you an additional revenue opportunity. What else do they provide you?
So they provide us also a way to create a very interesting experience on phones. So, the more customers use apps, first of all, the more they use data. So it's a way for us to sell additional data plans. It's also a way for many apps that leverage a lot of the features of the smartphones out there. It's a way to really display how capable the device is. Depending on certain verticals, there's a lot of very interesting business apps that are used by our customer base as well.
There are some very big relationships, partnerships we are announcing within the next 4 weeks. This year alone, and the program itself really officially started in January of this year, we will end up this year with at least 15 strategic partnership deals where somewhere there is a business model where mutual revenue will be shared one way or the other. So for us, there is the App Store with certain percentages of rev share, but even if you have a direct relationship with the app developer, there's even further opportunities for us and for them. But at the same time, we have statistical data now where it's not just about the app and the revenue that you can get out of it. It's also about keeping the customer with us rather than going somewhere else. And if we are enabling the developer with their app to have access to our customer base, in this particular case, 130 million just alone in Europe, and there is a particular, cool app that you can only find within the German footprint, for example, on our devices, and nobody else has it from a carrier perspective, I have an advantage.
Okay, so I'm hearing exclusivity to differentiate. I'm hearing decreased churn. Anything else to add on that?
I think it's there's a joint interest. The carriers need the apps, and the apps need the carriers. In the end, the carrier, who cares about access if there's not something you can do with it? And we sell an experience, an access, a best experience to your digital world. And in part of that ecosystem of providing an experience to your digital world is the app part. There is the infrastructure, network access, and all the enabling part, but there's also the app parts, which is why you actually go to it. So for us to be able to promote our business, we need cool apps at the other end, and on the other side, for the apps to actually provide, be able to deliver their best experience, it is of interest to work with a carrier. So there's a win-win on both sides.
So that's interesting. So let's go. We just went down that way, looking at what carriers get out of apps, and now Ursula's actually brought it back, talking about what apps get out of carriers. More to add on that?
Yeah, we can certainly help app developers with discoverability. So we have several programs at Sprint in order to allow that. A lot of customers are new to the smartphone world. Believe it or not, it's hard to believe in Silicon Valley, but and so where Sprint came up with the idea of kind of bridging the gap between the big marketplace with over 600,000 apps and the customer that's lost in that market. One of the ways we do that is a program called Sprint ID, which is essentially a bundle of applications, wallpaper, ringtones that an application provider, a content provider can put together. And so the customer walks into a Sprint store, he or she gets a blank device, and the retail store rep helps him choose a Sprint ID pack of application that suits what his interests are. And so for app developers, it's a way to be, if you're part of that pack or if you build a pack yourself, it's a way to be discovered and be part of the travel pack or the business apps pack or one of those.
I think if you look at the app developers, there are multiple levels of different apps, right? If you look at Deutsche Telekom, we have T-Systems, the integration house. It's 450 people, an organization, part of us. They're looking for applications all the time to enrich and enhance the end-to-end service offering to the Fortune 5,000 companies within the world. So there's a huge channel to give them access to a footprint that no app developer would get in any short period of time. On the other hand, smaller apps for the consumer, for example, I mean, what do we really have to offer, right? We have an infrastructure, we have a backend, and we are sitting on a bunch of customers. So if an app developer sits here and would like to enter the European market, and we're all from an international background to some extent. If you look at the United States, 50 states, one language, one currency, one president, you name it, one market dynamic to some extent. You're going to Europe, multiple languages, multiple culture, multiple different behaviors, sometimes not even compatibility is really, there. So we can help them with customization, with access to 130 million customers by using one channel. And I think this is a true asset, a true value that we can bring to the app developers.
So I agree with all of that, but I would like to add two more things. We bring a brand. So in Switzerland, the Swisscom brand is a brand of trust. And when there's a co-brand Swisscom with the app, or it goes through a Swisscom portal, then there's a certain trust for the people that they will actually, when they use the app, related to maybe some fraud of credit card or some fraud, also the way their data gets treated. So there's a value in the brand that we bring. And on the other side, we also have a call center. I think a big problem with the apps is when something doesn't work or a transaction gets stuck somewhere along the way, you don't know who to call, and that also puts people off. And if we work together, then the Swisscom call center is available, and that gives a certain trust for the people to actually explore and discover more, because they know there's a physical person they can talk to or blame when things go bad.
So then specifically, what are the kind of programs that each of you have in place to lure, attract applications to work with you? Maybe here in the Valley or otherwise?
So first of all, we're out here in the Valley to talk to as many innovative companies and startups as possible. So don't hesitate to meet me after the panel. The other opportunity that exists very short term is our Open Solutions Conference next week in this center.
I'm sorry, you said you have a conference here?
Yeah.
Open Solutions Conference here next week?
Next week,
Okay.
Wednesday and Thursday.
Wednesday and Thursday?
Shameless plug. And of course, we're going to talk a lot about ways to have better discoverability, monetization, our new mobile advertising program that's available for developers to leverage in your app. And then the other programs that we offer is Sprint ID that I talked about, and then Sprint Zone, which is a way to be part of a list of featured apps that is changing on a weekly basis. It's a list of 15 apps that customers can refer to in an application called Sprint Zone that is all on our phone. And the way you get on that list is by bidding for the placement that you desire. So it's a fixed ROI, and you get placement in one of the slots that you bid for.
Being headquartered in Germany, so it's a little bit different. The dynamic is a little bit different. But I think what we have to offer are various different programs on different levels. The first thing is just the fact that we now have stated earlier in the year, all the way from our CEO down, that we are opening up for outside innovation, bringing it in, rather than just relying on in-house development. That's step one. Step two is that we are also here in Silicon Valley. We have an office in Mountain View, so we are almost on a daily basis. We see multiple pitches, startups, early stage, mid stage, even late stage companies who would like to enter the European market by using us as a platform. So we are kind of the gatekeeper, and then we have equivalent people in Germany, and they are helping to get into the different business units where you need to have access to get anything done. Or, and this is also something where we make life a little bit easier, is sometimes, and this was something in the monetization discussion that somebody used as an example, and I can fully support that. Sometimes if you get into the Deutsche Telekom, it is just not that easy because they're just so big. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we have a footprint, and we are either number one in most cases, or number two or number three in 15 countries in Europe. So if anybody wants to have access to 15 countries all at once, we can help them with our program in the most efficient, as much as we can, way. The other one is, we just announced a few months ago our first physical incubator in Berlin, where we now have a physical location, an incubator. And what we do for that is we have incubation in Germany for particularly the Berlin-based startup scene, which is growing crazy. Mm-hmm. We announced a partnership with General Assembly that is part of the program to teach others how to start a company and what to do. But the other is we have signed numerous partners this year here out of the Valley, And we are actually offering them physical location for free as part of the deal in Berlin to help them over there with the resources to either customize a few things, further enhance the development that fits into the European market, in billing, in whatever different requirements there are in regional countries. They could not have done that from here with additional support.
That's great. Ursula, anything to add?
So we are much smaller. So we see two ways where we can work with apps. One is basically if you just want access to the Swiss market. The Swiss market is a market of early adopters and rich people who who actually put in money. So it's a great market to enter into, to explore things. So in this way, what we're trying to provide is like our enterprise SMB business world is a platform which is easy for apps to connect and then just access the market. On the other side, we're almost like a lab, a real-time lab with 7 million people. It's a lab. So what we like to do and what startups or apps sometimes developers like to do is actually to use as like a lab very early where we can beta trial and testing, or we co-create something together. We have about 68% market share in the mobile. We also have fixed net and shops all over. So it's really, it's like a lab in that sense. And being small with the advantage of being quick in the decision and moving on. But we don't have the scale. So the lab size is sometimes attractive.
So actually, I can say on that, can you talk a little bit about some case studies, some results that have been generated with partnerships here with Silicon Valley or other companies, just specific companies that Swisscom has worked with?
So for example, a social community video like a kite, we came in very early and they tested their whole concept using the Swiss market. And we did marketing for them. We went to concerts and events to get the young people, and we developed what we call like a Swisscom mobile labs, like the Google Labs, where we could actually get early adopters in to give actually feedback. So we have those capabilities. We provide free connectivity and marketing, and then based on those results, the startup can then decide or evolve their technology and go into other markets like Vodafone or Deutsche Telekom, which have the volume or the scale to go. Zuberance, which is more crowdsourced marketing, we co-created very early in. We developed the Swiss market, and then they can use those knowledge into other markets. We still use some of these startups and some weed out depending on what the market reaction is. So it's not always that our partnership will continue, but it is a great lab because the turnaround is very quick.
Thomas?
Yeah, just a variety, so people have an idea what can be done. So everything, as an example that I'm using right now, happened within the last 12 months. So from one spectrum is a local company, 2 years old, Blue Jeans Network. They do video bridging services, and we engaged with them very, very early on. We helped them to come over to the European markets when they had no footprint in the European market. And in that particular case, we actually decided to brand it Deutsche Telekom with a particular own brand, but powered by Blue Jeans Network. So it's kind of a sub-brand, and we gave them instant access to 130 million potential customers. Actually, even more if you look at our T-Systems and enterprise customers on top of that. So that was pretty big.
That's great.
The other example is Groupon and Spotify. Mm-hmm. These are obviously brands that everybody knows, so we better take advantage of it. So through our footprint, again, we help them to enter the European market very, very fast. We put all the heavyweight marketing sales efforts behind it, and now we are, starting the programs to selling it. The most recent one is a startup company out of San Francisco, Lookout. Some of you might know that company. It's a security, mobile health kind of a company. So we have a relationship with them as well, and we are helping them into the German market. They are actually the ones who took advantage of the facilities in Berlin. The other one where we haven't done the onboarding on the product end, but we made a strategic investment early on, or just recently, early in the year, is another company like Pinger, for example, where we just made an investment.
And Louise?
Yep, and so Lookout is actually another one of the companies we worked with as well. What we did for them was to feature them in Sprint Zone for, I think it's been 18 months they're on there, seeing a lot of uptake in the download of their free and their premium versions. We also give them the ability to bundle services so that now they can sell packs of their apps to small businesses or to families as well. So as a parent, you can buy Lookout, one instance of Lookout, and protect your children's phone, etc. So that's one example. As part of this whole, we're very big in security. It's a very important issue for us with smartphones. And so as part of that, we also launched a family controls, parental control application powered by Location Labs. It's called Safely. And it gives the ability for parents to lock their children's phones during school hours, stop texting after, during dinner time and after dinner time, etc. So that's getting tremendous success as well. And then another one I'd like to mention, because they, out of our initial partnership, they actually got a huge acquisition, was Quick. So we were the first mobile carrier when we launched 4G 4 years ago to really want to do video, to display what 4G could do on your smartphone. And so Quick at the time we felt was the most advanced video conferencing solution. So we featured them as well on our HTC Evo phone. And after that they got many more carrier deals and eventually got acquired.
Well, before I ask a more general question, one specific thing for you and Louise. There was some news this week regarding Sprint. How's your Japanese?
Konnichiwa. That's about all I know.
What can you tell us about SoftBank and so forth?
Yeah, we're actually super excited about the news. So for those of you that might not have heard, SoftBank is acquiring 70% of Sprint, infusing cash in our company. We're very excited because they have a very internet type of mind in the way they approach the market. So they're definitely not your traditional telco, very much focused on mobilizing the internet. And it's very similar to our own philosophy. Our CEOs seem to have a lot of common things in the way they approach our company's culture. And so we're super excited to essentially we're becoming number 3 in the world revenue-wise with this acquisition. So, still 9 months before it goes through. And hopefully it will, but we're all really excited about it.
So this is just an open question to all of you, for app developers out there. When's the right time to work with a carrier? Is there ever a time that's a right time or a wrong time? And do you ever tell people?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I think any time is a good time. The question is more what you have to offer and what do you do, how do you position it to get into the door? So I can encourage every developer and app developer, don't be shy to knock on the door of a carrier. I know the perception from the past is a little bit different. I will admit, I just joined this big giant company in January of this year to drive this new program. But I have been here for 21 years and I'm more an entrepreneur startup guy than anything else. I see it also from the other side. So don't feel shy. There's a lot a carrier can offer if you, at least in our case, enter the European market. The question is more with what objective you are trying to approach a carrier. What we can offer is, if it's an early stage or just an idea, we have a venture arm who is willing to invest in an idea. That doesn't mean there isn't, necessarily there needs to be a release product and revenue generation for T Ventures, the investment arm. They have different parameters. But if you have something that doesn't generate revenue just yet, but you want to tackle the idea and learn a little bit, and then you mold it a little bit, we are open to that right now. I can always go to a small a country like Austria, for example, and run a test pilot over there. We are absolutely willing to do that. We run a test pilot. If it fails, we quietly just shuffle it aside. We wouldn't do that with Deutsche Telekom, but we run a test pilot, and if it works, we both learn from the process, and then you move it over to the mothership, and then you have a commercially viable product. So there's always an opportunity at any given time.
I agree to 90%, but I think there's also a question of timing in the mothership, in a sense, as to where the planning at. So, like I said, we just recently launched the SMB business platform. So at this stage, we're really seeking apps to go there in the SMB range. So we have a few, like Tweezy for e-marketing, or Mila, or Milkbook, Amanda for invoicing. So we have a few of them, but right now we're really looking for a lot to populate. So if you would have come a year ago, it would have been a little bit more difficult because we're just in the process of setting up a platform that enables. So yes, you can come anytime, but there are certain moments when a new platform is set up or when a new focus direction is going, like on the health side. We're also looking at e-health, and we're in the process of building up that platform. So the moment that platform is ready, we're seeking more actively. You can come anytime, but there are certain moments in the decision, in the process of these platforms where you have a higher chance because there's a more focus on it.
If I can add to that, I agree. I agree on the remaining 10-20% because we're in the same boat. You know, we launched also an SMB marketplace middle of the year, and we talked to a lot of company early in the year. In the middle of the year, we changed a little bit the direction that for later in the year, we decided to go after 5 very big brand, very big fish, because we wanted them to be the ones who have huge customers already, and we need to claim somewhat a revenue traction somewhere. So all the little ones, and they're knocking on, probably on our doors in the same way, you know, there are toolkits of this and that, and API, and it's like, you know what, the timing to talk to us, again, I still stick to what I say, it's now. The difference is to clearly communicate, you know, if a no is a no, we do not want to lead on a startup company for like a year or two, which to some extent we have the reputation to do, because that's the way they work in the big mothership to some extent. But if it's a no, it's a no. You literally let them know right away because they can move on. Otherwise, we could eat them alive and they're not doing anything. We can paralyze them. But at the same time, I will tell these customers, thank you very much for sharing, for knowing. Your time will be Q1, Q2, 2013. So let's sit it out a little bit, but we will get back to you. So instead of saying, you know what, I'm not talking to you, I might see you next year, things might change. You just never know. So you're better on the ball.
And the other thing, because we're international companies, there's also a question of the timing when the startup or the app is ready to go international. We need languages. We need languages, then there's different issues of data privacy and security. There's some technology differences between the US and the customer behavior. So it depends both. You know, when is the timing for the startup to be ready to tackle a European market? And when is the timing on our side when we launch different things? But I think we agree.
Elise?
Yeah, I'd caveat that a little bit on our side. What we would say, excuse me, is the more, actually, if you're a very early stage, you're just creating your app, I would say really try and take advantage of a lot of the self-serve tool that we have on our developer portal. Because honestly, you know, we'll start looking at you when you start having traction, but the more you've used Sprint stuff, you know, the more interesting it gets because it features our capabilities. And, you know, as both of them said, I totally agree that, you know, any time is good to talk to us. And what we're trying to do a more and more better job of is really telling you, you know what, maybe we're not ready to move further right now, but, you know, come back in a year or you know, when you have X milestone accomplished. So we're really, I think, out of this walled garden mentality. Some of the platform providers now maybe have more of a walled garden approach, and we're trying to help you as much as you can and get back to you as much as possible.
Ursula?
It doesn't go without challenge. I think some of our questions we have is really, we talked before about what the carrier brings and what the app brings, but it's not so clear. For some apps, they would like access to marketing. Some apps just need access to customers. Others need some more data. And I think this does take some time, and it's also important for you guys to tell us what do you really want from us? What can you do on your own, and what resource actually helps us? Because when we set up our self-help tools, because in the end it has to go towards self-provisioning, we cannot, the cost of managing every app individually is too expensive. It has to go into self-provisioning. We really need to know what do you guys need, and we're still all in the phase of defining what is the best way to collaborate and what is common and what is specific to different apps. I think we shouldn't underestimate that part.
And just one thing to the audience, which is not only you three, but the other carrier reps here in the Valley play a very important role, I believe, in the sense that you try to get get the alignment between the mothership and the startup, and you want to make as many partnerships happen as you can. And so that's your goal, and you have a reputation here to protect as well. So you want to be seen as useful and helpful to the startups. The other thing I just want to erase is any kind of preconception or misconception about carriers and concern about competition for applications. There may be exclusivity, but just as an indication of the level of cooperation amongst the carriers here in the Valley, for the last 11 years, the last Friday of every month, there's been an organization called the Service Provider Investment Forum, where we bring startups together to pitch all the service providers. So in one room, you'll have not only these folks, but Docomo and Orange and China Mobile, and there's about 25 carriers that have different outposts here in the Valley. So now, very quickly, can you name maybe the top 3 areas that you're looking for partnerships right now?
So specifically to apps, we're actually right now looking for innovative gaming solutions that could leverage, 4G, AR, our devices, combination of all that. So very specifically, business apps is also a very important aspect of what we're looking for. And then any creative idea around 4G that really gets the customer to want to use 4G and understand the power of it is very helpful to us.
Again, 4G, I agree, absolutely. I think we're all in the same boat on that one, to enhance the experience. The other one is more on this side, that we now have launched an SMB marketplace, but what's that used for if there's no apps that you can actually, install and load? So anything that is about self-served application within the SMB space is of strong interest. The other one is on the mobile space for us is everything around music, gaming, and I would say new on the whole horizon is also video and social TV, although that still needs to be defined.
So yeah, we're pretty much the same topics, the SMB market space, self-provisioning. And then we're trying to, because we offer IPTV to TV solution to bring TV cross channels from mobile, PC, and TV, the next level of enhancement to social TV or TV community, social networks and things around the TV, so anything related to TV, video, and entertainment. And then one other thing for more the enterprise side is security, different forms of security and data management and privacy, which goes back into also the whole bringing your own device, the mixing of the blending of the enterprise and the personal application and data on the phone. So there's a whole component of security and data and identity.
So one thing that was surprising to me is I don't believe I heard M2M in there, the Internet of Things. Is that...
You're talking about applications, so.
Okay.
So, but yeah, M2M, machine to machine, is a very big focus area. Like, I could talk about, network optimization, all those technologies, but they're not apps. Okay. But machine to machine is definitely a big potential revenue growth for carriers. Yeah.
All of us a few weeks ago, actually all of us, and plus, others in our area, we spoke at this other conference, and when we had the list of the top 5, and then later we got the list of everybody's presentation. I shipped it over. I sent it over to Germany. I said, listen, there's no rocket science. We are all looking at the same thing. It's really about the relationship, the execution, and the timing. But there's no M2M. I'm craving chocolate. I'm craving chocolate. M2M, and there are other topics, NFC. We are looking for the same stuff, I think.
Yeah, I think that, and that gets to that earlier point about the lack of competition here amongst the Valley representatives of the carriers. It's more about the execution. So you can become aware of different opportunities because we're all looking for the same things. But then the question is, how quickly can your headquarters actually take something back and execute on it, right?
Yes, and I think it also links to the brand of what you stand for in the market. So while we all have access to same apps and technologies. In the end, we're an integrator and aggregator, and we have a brand promise on the market to our customers. And every carrier, every corporate has its own brand, and we need to be in line to what we stand for. I mean, for us, it's high quality security, and others, it's more fun and entertainment. I think you have to be true to that brand, and it's our responsibility to connect the apps worlds with our customers.
Great. I think we're wrapping up. Any final comments, statements, thoughts, advice, fears?
Don't be shy to approach a carrier, honestly.
Yeah, I think there's been a shift. For a while, the carriers or the telcos have been labeled as dumb pipes, and let's be honest, we also considered ourselves as dumb pipes. But I think mobile is exploding, opportunities are exploding, all the developers are bringing a lot of new creativity and innovation, and there's great opportunity for everybody, but we need to work together.
It's funny how the perception is that, no, we don't need the carriers anymore, those days are gone, et cetera. But each time we're at a conference, it's like, oh, you're from Sprint, and, everybody comes and knocks on our door, which is great, is really what we're looking for. So I'm glad, for the most part, people think carriers are still relevant.
Great.
We sit on a lot of relationships with hundreds and millions of customers, and an app developer should not avoid that, should really respect that.
There you go. That's a good message to end on. Thank you. And if you would, please help me thank our panelists for their contribution this evening. Oh, a question? Yeah, so does anyone have a question for the panel? Yes.
Hi there, I'm again Dhaval from Zorient. Great to hear the views of the providers. You obviously agree that mobile is the new computer, right? Almost everybody gets it now. So going forward, connecting to the internet is one of the most important things, the data bandwidth and all. Sprint provides the flat rate, other providers don't. And maybe some European providers do also. So where do you see it going? Everybody will provide flat rate pretty soon at good price points, or it'll go the other way around? They'll milk it more with removing the flat rate because it's becoming more critical.
Ursula, I'm going to pitch this over to you because Swisscom just launched something kind of interesting on the pricing side.
Okay, so we realized that customers have a very difficult time understanding capping of bandwidth. So we provide basically much more on a service level agreement. So we have unlimited voice, unlimited text, and unlimited mobile data. But we differentiate by the speed. So you can get slow, medium, fast, and if you go fast, you actually get priority in delivery. And that the customers really, really love. So it's flat rate based on the quality of service you want. And actually we're amazed how happy the customers are, and even the shop people, they're really selling it very well. So that's a way to get around it, and it's a way for us to make happy customers, because we will never be able to satisfy everybody at the same time. And we can sell service differentiated, and then also individual apps or applications. We can change the bandwidth for a specific application, and then we can build both at the back end or at the front end.
I don't know if that would fly with Sprint. Don't we have common access or what have you?
No, so Sprint is sticking to the unlimited flat. I mean, it's definitely a huge differentiator. You've probably seen the ads. We're trying to stick with simplicity and just avoid a lot of headaches. So building the network out to make sure that is sustainable.
So I guess it's about the simple network, but that pricing model seems very interesting because then it's self-selection, and then price points also are better. So you make it more business. Maybe you're keeping your network simple and don't want to do QoS or something. That's expensive, doing QoS, quality of service. But I don't know, you're losing customers, I guess, leaving money on the table. Sprint, that is. Because they have the Comcast type model, right? The broadband model. You select the speed and you pay.
I think so far the unlimited has proved successful. We grew from 50 million to 56 million customers in just a year, and I think a lot has to do with how simple it is.
Next question.
I have one question here. So Rick Lee with DNA. So the question for the carrier audience panel is, how likely is the possibility that you open up your customer data for us to be able to target our applications?
Who wants to take that one?
I mean, you guys are sitting on a gold mine, and I was just wondering how you guys are going to leverage out of that.
So on our side, on the Sprint side, we just launched our mobile advertising service 10 days ago. So the ability for developers, and the SDK actually is going to be launched next Tuesday at our hackathon out here again. And so the this is really the ability for customers to decide whether they want relevant ads or not. So again, we're not selling data to third parties, et cetera. We're just giving the ability for the customer to decide if they want better ads. Ads will always exist. That's how we keep the internet free, right? But it's the ability for the customer to decide if they want targeted ads or not that fits their interest.
It's a little bit difficult for me to answer because I want to talk in behalf of Deutsche Telekom. It's a little bit different over there. And T-Mobile US, they have their own agenda, which is completely independent to what the headquarter does. It's just the way the market's dynamics are. The only thing I can tell you is the question needs to be a little bit redefined, opening up to all our customer database. I think the answer is no, initially. But if we have a partnership where you go through us to our customers instead of giving you the whole database, there's always a partnership relationship that we can work out, obviously, right? That makes business sense. In regards to technology integration, to have your service tapped into whatever we have to offer, to do something through us as a service, the answer is yes, we can do that. We just launched this year what we call a developer garden, and we are collecting APIs from the market, and we have our own APIs that we actually put into our developer garden, and it is free accessible to the developer community. So there might be something in there that will help you.
I think this is only one part of a bigger question, and I think the carriers are all in the process of rethinking what are their core assets, and the core assets is data, and this goes also location data, this goes shopping data, billing data, a whole bunch of data, and so to say open up all our data, no, it's not going to be all. But we have to open up, we are all in the process of defining the strategy of opening up different components, because that's where a source of our future revenues are. As voice basically becomes free, you have to find those other revenues, and these are the new assets in this ecosystem that is coming up with these apps and where we're all participating in.
Yes, I totally agree with you with regards to what you open up from the data that you have. And I think most importantly, one piece of data that I can see that's really important is because of your infrastructure, your base stations, your cell towers, and so on. That provides quite accurate location-based. And I think there's a realm of applications that can tap into that information through some sort of an API or
and this is the thing I mentioned before. So we have all of this data. What we need to know from you is what of this data is most important for you, and what are you willing to pay for it? And so this is a discovery phase we're in right now, because we're not going to open up everything. If what is relevant for you, we can talk about it, but we need to discuss and co-create in what you guys really need so that we can aggregate that in a form that you can use. So there is still early times.
Yeah, and I think all the big carriers in the US at least have opened the location API, so that's kind of the standard API that everybody put out there for developers to leverage.
So I think there's some wheeling and dealing to be done, huh?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, I think we're out of time. Again, if you would, please help me. And
I think they're in line for
well, I think we're out of time, though, right? Yeah, we're out of time.
Hey, this guy stayed on. Give him a chance.
Why don't we take it? We can take the questions maybe in the back over there at the end here. But I think we have to wrap things up. So again, if you would, just please help me thank the panelists.
Hello. Great. Thank you, Rob. And